Saw a nice big spike on the waveform. Well, it's been much too long. I don't have a quote, so I'm just going to roll into it. Welcome to the Decompression Chamber. I'm your host, Mario. And this... shit, I don't know what season this is. We're just going.
For the shade, I don't wanna give myself no option, so I drop the visor just to wake up. Ain't no tripping over pay stubs.
So yeah, an immense amount of stuff has changed in my life since I last filmed one of these, and yeah, it's kind of hard to know where to start or what's worth explaining. Like, I found myself in this cycle recently of thinking, God, well, I'm going to need to make a decompression chamber just to catch people up. And then I thought to myself, but that's not really the point of these. The point of these is to speak, to get shit off my chest, but also to form as a kind of time capsule for the future, for a future version of me. That's what it started off as anyway. It's crazy to think about how different life is for me since I first made one of these. I first filmed it in the bedroom of my parents when I was stuck at home in the second lockdown from uni. And I'd be sat around all day and I'd just think to myself, like, I just sit and think, like, I've got to do something. And because my course was practical and I was just, like, stuck at home, not doing much, attending online lectures and not giving a shit, and yeah. I just made a video. I talked for 5 minutes about my day, and it was that simple. And in that first year of uni, I was just making them every day. I'd just make them on my laptop, plug my little microphone into the headphone jack, and hey presto, I didn't even have to edit it. Or barely spent 5 minutes editing, that is. I did it all on iMovie, quite proudly. I love iMovie. And yeah, and here I am. What might be season 4, what might be season 5, what might realistically just be season 2 again, of the Decompression Chamber. And yeah, I'm in Nottingham. That's cool. My girlfriend's studying animation here, and I decided to go up with her, and we live together in a flat, just us, and it's brilliant. Reminds me of one of those memes that just says, like, little did I know the solution to all of my problems was just moving in with my partner. And though it's not really fully 100% true, it's definitely got some truth to it. I got a promotion at my job, so that's pretty great. My title hasn't changed, but instead of being half a week climate activist, creative, and half a week lazy dude, I'm now full-time climate activist and video maker, and a weekend lazy dude. It just depends how you define that. And yeah, I guess that's another thing I could talk about. Just recently having this kind of seesaw battle in my life between being tired from working and being much more time poor, and trying to just feel recovered, feel relieved from that difficulty and that tiredness from working full time. And the other part of me being like, shit, well, now that I have much less time, I need to do stuff to make use of it. And here's where I found myself. I was just awkwardly readjusting because looking at the frame right now, I don't really like it, but I've just got to make one of these. I keep telling myself, like, oh, when you get in this position, then it'll be good to go. When I've got all of these creative ideas. I've become a creative idea collector outside of my work, and I haven't been a creator, not in the way that I want to be. And so regardless of what I think of the framing, regardless of how much color grading I do, I mean, the one thing that would really tank this is either the memory file corrupting or the audio being unusable. But other than that, fuck it, we do it live, as Bill O'Reilly said. Not that I want to associate myself with a Fox News host, but hey presto, there you go. But I thought this format, this styling, I'm comfortable with it at least. Even if I haven't made one of these in ages, and even if I feel awkward just talking about my life and talking in front of a camera, it is me, you know. Ooh. I think the camera's struggling to focus on me. Anyway, so yeah, I've got that going on. Yeah, the whole issue of being more time poor, and now I understand all the adults in my life to a much greater degree than I think I ever did. And it's funny how all of those things that people said to me when I was young, when I was a student, you know, enjoy it while you're there, and you know, life's not always like this. I would always kind of brush them off. I'd always kind of just think, yeah, whatever, what do you know, or well, life's life, you know, I'm just doing my thing. I've lived my life oftentimes in my eyes just in a very short-sighted way, thinking about myself a lot, but also thinking about never thinking beyond the week ahead of me. And funnily enough, I'm now in a completely different stage of life, one that I was never prepared for, and I never expected I'd find myself in, and here you are. It's perfectly normal, and everybody will go through it at one point or another. So yeah, moving was tough, adapting was tough. You know, I found out that I was going to be moving to Nottingham. Well, I made the decision. Anyway, the situation arose in mid-August, and we needed a place by mid-September. So after a very nice holiday in the summer, I came back, and it was like, fuck, like, we need a place. Searching for the apartment is stressful. Anybody who's seen this or, you know, will see this will know that finding a place to live has difficulties and benefits, yada yada. And stupidly in my head, because it was so important that we met this deadline, I was like, great, we've got the place, problem solved. But yeah, one door closes, another door opens, and that's true for opportunity, but it's also true for problems in life. And it just so happened that the first 2 weeks of me being here was 2 of the most stressful weeks of my entire work life for the charity I work for. And, you know, there's boxes all in the room that I'm in right now, the front room, and yeah, it wasn't fully unpacked, and I still didn't know anybody in the city, and I didn't have, because work was taking up more time, I wasn't laying down the foundation for activities and habits that would help me with work-life balance and stress. And that was difficult. It was really difficult. And I was stubborn about it in the sense that I didn't and I couldn't admit that I was struggling. Somebody asked me how I was doing, I'd just, you know, I'd kind of shrug and I'd change the conversation. And when my girlfriend voiced her concern for me, I kind of just said, yeah, well, it is what it is, you know. And that was dismissive. No other way around it. And I just think I'm not very good at saying when I'm not doing well. Yeah. There's a lot of things I'm not good at, and, you know, that's, again, part of dealing with difficult situations and moving into the adult world. Is part of the way I've got to know myself is understand my flaws and deficiencies, you know. Another thing that I've been thinking about a lot recently and struggling and dealing with is I'm not very good at saying what I want. I've never been good at it. I've always been bad, at least since I became a conscious being and I could make the choices to speak up for myself. And, you know, I could psychoanalyze about the wheres and the whys and the hows, but when it comes to how I make choices today and how I want to live, just means that I've got to be in touch with myself in that way, notice what I want and speak up and know that that's okay to do. So yeah, again, Rolodex of life, right? And I've been getting myself involved in clubs. Like, I go to a talk cinema club where I go and watch films at the local independent cinema, and I talk to a very eclectic group of people that watch the same films and we discuss. And And every week I go in with this mindset, like, I'm just going to listen. I just want to hear other people out. And then when I'm in there, it's like the fighting instinct comes into me, and I'm portraying it like I'm super combative, and I don't think I am, but I am an opinionated person when it comes to film. I see things a certain way, and oftentimes when I first get that instinct of somebody having an opinion that really differs to mine, especially when there's someone whose opinion I respect and they've articulated it in a way that makes sense, part of me just wants to fight back at it. Part of me wants to say, well, actually, that's not a good thing, or, well, actually, maybe that was intentional, or yada yada. The first session was about Joker 2, and god damn. For me, Joker 2 is genuinely the worst film ever made. And it's not the most poorly made film in terms of like cinematography, sound effect, production quality wise, it's great, it's brilliant. But just the story and just the story really, it just was so bad. And in this Talk Cinema session, there were some people that loved it. There were some people that genuinely thought it was a masterpiece. And I left it, and every time I go into those talks, at first when I hear differing opinions, I'm like, what the fuck? You absolute plonker. And when I hear people out and I listen and I let them articulate their thoughts, and even if I don't see from their perspective, I understand their perspective and I respect it. So that's been very good for me. The world finds ways to open our minds in ways in which I could have never expected. I've been trying to get a little bit into rock climbing and getting back into the gym, get my body back in order, because I went for a long period where I was really into the gym and then I kind of didn't go as much. And I don't think really physically I suffered that bad, but I think for me, and I think a lot of people will have this as well, if I don't go to the gym for a while, it's really the biggest thing it affects is my body image. I stand in front of the mirror without a t-shirt on and I'll feel a certain way. And it's funny because one workout won't change my physiology barely at all, not in any measurable way. And yet that first workout or any subsequent workouts, before I get in the shower and I check myself out in the mirror, I'm feeling much, much better about it. So yeah, maybe there's a lesson there. It's not about the actual change you're seeing, it's about the effort you're putting in. That's what I try and take from it anyway. And I've joined a five-a-side team comprised of people who don't know each other on Reddit. That's pretty cool. We played our first game last week and got battered. And I've played in goal my whole life, and I had to run a lot outfield because we need to switch people in and out for substitutions. And by God, it was exhausting. So yeah, I am simultaneously looking forward to and not looking forward to the game this Tuesday. So yeah, that's been going on. I mean, this feels like it needs its own video, but I've been having a whole quarter-life crisis about what the next phase of my life is going to look like. And it's funny because I remember I probably made videos about this when I was back at Waterside, my house at the end of university, being uncertain about the future and feeling like the future was just this one big anvil, like in the cartoons, that was going to land on me and just squash me dead. When in reality, the future just comes one day at a time. And yet, as soon as I stepped into the adult world, it's not that I was no longer able to, it's that I was forced to look ahead. I was forced to make choices and make moves in life that have more consequences than just what happens at the end of this week. At the end of this month. I'm on the ladder now. I'm on the rat race. I'm in a very, very privileged position, and yet as soon as I found myself in the full swing of work and, you get this time off and then you get your weekends, and I was kind of like, damn, life comes at you fast. And one of my major kind of what ifs in life, one of my major regrets, if you choose to live that way, is that the year that I was going to do kind of my big travel adventure in my gap year was 2020 in March. So we all know what happened there. it's not something that I ever want sympathy for, or I don't even pity myself in that sense, because I suffered extremely little in the pandemic, given what others did, and I'll always be grateful for the level to which I was able to continue with life as normal. However, I do look back and I do ask questions. I do think, like, what would it have been like? What would my life be like now? What my perspective, my world experience, what would be different? And other questions that I think about is, if I was speaking to myself at 30 right now, what would that person tell me? What would I want to know about him? And I find myself fearful that I'll look back and wish that I travelled younger. And that's not to say that I wish that I travelled at 18 or 19, but perhaps I would wish that I had travelled now. And so that's the crossroads I find myself at, because my job is one of the best jobs ever. Everybody treats me super well. I get creative input. I get, like, people care about what I do. I enjoy it. I don't get micromanaged by my bosses. They just they empower me. They actively encourage me to take time during work to improve my skills rather than just meet their tasks. It's a charity, so it's doing it for a good cause. It ticks so many boxes, and yet, because of the phase of life that I'm in, because of the position that I'm in, I find myself thinking, is this it? Is this what I want? And those questions are really hard to ask. Those questions are really hard to ask myself, and those questions are really hard to find a coherent answer to. If I find it hard to say what I desire in terms of someone asking me what I want for dinner, being able to vocalize and allow myself to entertain and sink into the idea of what do I want in life. Fuck. It's fucking scary, What's the best case scenario for my professional career? What's the best case scenario for, travel and seeing opportunities around the world? What's best case scenario for life, for me? What does it all mean? That's what I think about sometimes, and it's fucking difficult. And in the meanwhile of all of the minutiae of this, I'm thinking, what can I do outside of work to propel myself forward? What can I do to tangibly make projects and look back and be like, I'm making stuff, I'm doing stuff, I'm a director, I'm a creator, I'm a producer. Because recently it hasn't been much, I made that last Maxibon short film with my family over the summer, and even that wouldn't have gone over the line if it wasn't for my girlfriend, because I didn't do a good job of handling the production of it, and at one point she just kind of turned to me and was like, we're gonna do it. She was the one that drove it and pushed it over the line. It wasn't me. And I'm always super grateful and super proud of her for being the one that did that, but it makes me think, what am I gonna do for me? And so that's where I am now. That's why I'm making this. And I feel like the tone of this video is going to be super sad. Like, I'm not sad. I'm actually, this weekend has been very chill, and this last week's been one of the best I've had at work my entire time. And maybe it's those late Sunday evening blues, or maybe it's just that I'm contemplating some complicated big life stuff. But genuinely this week I felt like I've hit my stride in some ways. I felt like things have been coming together nicely, and when it comes to handling adult responsibilities, it's always felt like a revolving door of, as soon as I'm on top of one thing, the other thing goes out the window, I know there's people in my life I need to do a better job of contacting more and being in touch with, and if you're one of those people, then I'm sorry. You deserve better, genuinely. And I want to be better at that. Yeah, that's just the truth. And I'm genuinely doing my best to take care of myself. That's the only reason I feel like I can justify, is that I find it really hard to be good to myself, to take care of myself and do all the things I want to do. And yeah, I'm still not always doing all of those things. And sometimes it's an awareness thing, and sometimes it's just a will thing. Just where there's a will, there's a way. And I think in my head I make myself out to be less powerful than I am. My instinct, my base reaction is to think you can't do this, you're not going to be able to, or you're not strong enough, you're not courageous enough, you're not powerful enough, you're not willful enough, whatever it is. That's my base instinct. And yet there are times like this week where I've been doing some stuff in my professional life well, or when I have an interaction with someone that makes me feel good about myself, or when I am maintaining good physical regimen, or whatever it is. I watch a video that completely changes my perspective on life, and sometimes it feels like I am invincible, like I have all the power that I need, and I have all the freedom and agency that any human could ever want, and I'm lit up with this positive energy, and I want that to be the fire that stokes the engine within me. I want that to be what sustains me, but also I want to be able to be in the opposite place, to be in the really difficult times and still pull myself up, and I'm working on it, just like a lot of stuff, I'm working on it. But anyway, this is a whole different thing that I definitely am going to make a video about. But this whole life improvement, Andrew Huberman protocols for life, you're a robot with biology and create these inputs and you get these outputs. That's not me. That's not life to me. To me, life is stories. Life is a story, and I'm doing my best to write the best version of it for myself that I can. And just like writing in real life, sometimes the first draft's a little bit rough. Probably like this. But anyway, yeah. If you're watching this and you made it all the way through, you're probably someone in my life that really matters to me. So yeah, just know that whatever you're doing right now, whatever you've been doing, I really appreciate you, and I care about you, and I look forward to seeing you next. And if there's ever been a time where I don't contact you as often, or it feels like I'm a little bit out of reach, it's not out of any ill will, it's just adult life and me not doing the best job of doing what I want to do, which is stay connected to my people. And if somehow you're on the YouTube algorithm for my videos and this isn't you, then hi, welcome to the channel. Have a look around. You'll see different versions of me, and if it's me watching this from the future, looking back, I hope you've done the things that I'm hoping you've done. And if not, there's always more time. So yeah, courage is never final. Failure is never final. Third scratch. So Winston Churchill quote something like, failure is never fatal. Victory's never final. What matters is have the courage to carry on. Woo. Anyway, hopefully this even goes up. I've got to hold myself to that. Lots of love.
Just to wake up, no, really wait. But an L only help when I go by myself. I'm a steep, that's no real contact the bells. I don't need it to help with my wishes. Oh well, I'm anemic. While I try to beef with the cell, be a crease with a melt. I'm a